on Black Nouveau. Hi, I'm Milton Dockery.
And I'm Faithe. Welcome to Black Nouveau. The Market Center for the Performing Arts started the new year with a new production of Dreamgirls. We'll talk with a cast member.
Bobby Drake, our poet in residence, will perform. We'll preview Gallery Night, the upcoming MLK Holiday celebration, and explain how to prevent strokes.
But first, when you want business advice, it's wise to get it from the best. Janice Bryan Howrod is one of the best. She's the founder and owner of the largest staffing company in the country. Liddy Collins spoke with her when she was here for the Milwaukee Urban League.
Never compromise who you are personally to become who you wish to be professionally. And remember to shut up and listen.
Words of advice from a woman who owns the largest staffing company in the world, Janice Bryan Howrod. Howrod started the Act One Group in 1978. She got the idea for the business after running her brother-in-law's business office while he was away at a conference.
I decided that he needed some things straightening out, like files and processes, and a couple of people who were working there really weren't working there. And so I changed a couple of staff members. Now I just saw this as taking in, showing spunk and taking ingenuity forward. But when he came back, he thought I'd worked magic. And he said, Janice, you really have done a great job here. What is it that, made you do it? And the what is it that made me do it was the same what is it that keeps me doing it today.
She contributes that thinking process to her alma mater, North Carolina A&T State University.
North Carolina A&T educates, many of its graduates go on to become entrepreneurs. So there's something about the water in that Greensboro school that just motivates and feeds entrepreneurship. And they produce more black engineers than any other school in this nation. They've got a dynamic nanoscience program and partnership that they've just started with a neighboring school. And so the school continues to feed me the types of employees who I can build with.
Howrod said growing up in a large family contributed to her knowing how to manage resources. From her family, she learned how to manage relationships while modeling a lot of her mother's decision-making processes. She said to start a business, you need a great business plan and the support of your family.
You need them to understand what it is you're doing so they buy into the spirit of what you're doing. When I first started my business, I can tell you that very often my children said a lot of prayers with me by phone that they would have preferred to have said with me kneeling beside the bed with them. So it's about understanding that your family is making investments in your business in many ways that you don't stop to think about on a daily basis. Everybody in your family and in your immediate community are investing in that business because they're allowing you to be so fully invested in it.
She was to the point when telling us what was needed to really run a business.
This is a very fertile moment for anyone who has a dream of running or owning a business. I think that making a decision about where you fit in your own business is one of the hardest, yet one of the most important decisions that any business owner, any entrepreneur can make. When you start a business, oftentimes you're the everything person. You're doing it all. As that business grows, if you continue to be the everything person, you really short sell that business. You certainly risk that the business can't grow beyond your own physical ability to do anything well. Yet many entrepreneurs make this mistake. A business can be seeded from a hobby or a great idea, but it cannot grow as a hobby or simply a great idea. So the most difficult thing that a lot of business owners encounter is knowing when it's time to change their own role in their business. That's business owners who actually start their businesses as entrepreneurs.
And you have to stay competitive.
I think that you need to understand that you have to continuously learn. The great idea or the great product you have today is going to be competing against a better idea or a better product tomorrow. So you've got to stay very green. I like to say, when you're green, you grow. When you're ripe, you rot. If you think you know it all right now, don't start a business. Trust me, You're just beginning to learn when you start a business.
The Act One Group is headquartered in Torrance, California, where the many business entities of the Act One Group are located. Founder and CEO Janice Howrod said one of her challenges over the years was not having a lot of role models to glean information from, so she had to learn through trial and error.
There were also challenges that we don't talk about a whole lot today, but they did exist, and to some extent they continue to exist. And those were the isms, racism and sexism, and, quite honestly, narrowism too. Sometimes we don't think outside the box. So I suffered from those same isms. But I think the exciting moment for me occurred when I recognized that I was free to discover new processes and new ways of doing things, new ways of solving old problems.
And that's how you work through those challenges?
That's absolutely, Liddy, how I worked with those challenges, and that's how I continue to work with challenges to this day. And that's how challenges become opportunities.
And what advice do you give for those who want to go into business?
The best advice I think I can give anyone who wants to start a business is practically go work for somebody or work in an environment where the service or product you think you'd like to sell is being sold in the right way. And the right way means the way you think you'd like to do it. And if they won't hire you, you may just have to offer that service to them for free. But go learn about it. Learn what happens underneath the decisions and underneath the processes. Learn about how they are able to stay in business and sustain a business. And then add that to your own mix as you grow your business.
For more than 25 years, Milwaukee has been honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. Here's a remembrance of some of the past celebrations. The celebration will be held on Sunday, January 17th
The unveiling
from
of a
1 to
new
4 p.m. at the Marcus Center for the Performing Arts.
African Americans are twice as likely to die from strokes than Caucasians. In fact, African Americans are more impacted by strokes than any other group of Americans. Joining us now is Dr. Gene Pruitt to discuss this significant health issue. Dr. Pruitt, thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you for the invitation.
Dr. Pruitt, what is a stroke and what are the symptoms?
Well, a stroke is of two forms. One has to do when a small piece of clot breaks off, goes to a small blood vessel in the brain, stops the blood flow going to that area of the brain, and as a result of this, the tissue dies from lack of what we call perfusion, a flow of blood and oxygen. Symptoms include loss of vision, loss of speech or abnormalities of speech, person losing strength or becoming weak on one side of the body as opposed to the other, or an individual noticing that their balance is thrown off. These are some of the early symptoms and signs of having a stroke.
Now, Dr. Pruitt, if you have any of those symptoms, should you seek treatment right away?
You should seek treatment right away, and there's a particular reason why you should seek treatment. In the past, we didn't have any therapeutic modalities that could help people, but now we have modalities that can help. So if we catch an individual within the first 3 to 12 hours of the onset of these symptoms, we now have medications and procedures that we can do that could help to improve the flow to the jeopardized area so as to avert the stroke or minimize the effects of the stroke.
So the key, seek early treatment.
Seek early treatment.
Doctor, why are African Americans disproportionately affected by strokes when compared to the overall population?
That's a really interesting question that has multiple answers, some that we do know and others that we do not. First and foremost, we probably have a genetic predisposition. And that's something that geneticists and genomic studies are now delving into. Some of the more practical reasons why we probably have a higher rate of stroke is because we have hypertension in greater proportion than our Caucasian counterparts. Our blood pressure starts earlier to elevate, and it elevates more severely. And this is probably one of the reasons why we see strokes occurring in a younger age group of African Americans in comparison to our Caucasian counterparts.
What role does family history and diet play?
Well, it's really interesting. I think that unless you tell your physician family history, you're withholding some very significant information. By knowing the family history, it helps us to delve into other possible contributing factors that may lead to the process. Diet, it's a really interesting conversation right now. Some people can eat anything, and they never have an increased risk because their bad cholesterol is not elevated, nor does their blood pressure elevate. But if you're one of those particular individuals who is susceptible to hypertension or what we call hyperlipidemia, therefore causing narrowing of the blood vessels in the neck that lead to the brain, or also the smaller blood vessels in the vein, then high cholesterol foods, high sodium diet play a significant role.
So if you have a family history of strokes, it's very important to get physicals, blood tests, things of that sort for early diagnosis. Could you elaborate on that?
Sure. I think that every individual in this country needs to have a primary care physician who they see 1 or 2 times per year. Now, if you have a family history of stroke or hypertension or diabetes, all risk factors, then you need to see your physician at least a minimum of once a year so that you can have your blood pressure checked, make sure that you're not developing diabetes, and very importantly, to check your lipid panel, your good cholesterol, your bad cholesterol, your total cholesterol, and other factors that may be contributing to increasing your risk for stroke.
And you mentioned earlier that high sodium is one.
High sodium as it relates to elevation of blood pressure.
What are the most important factors in avoiding having a stroke?
Well, I think that one of the most important factors is making sure that you have regular physician care. I can't emphasize that enough. Then, proper diet and exercise. Exercise is a very potent factor in decreasing a lot of the contributing factors that lead to stroke. Exercise increases the cholesterol that protects your heart and brain, decreases the bad cholesterol. Exercise helps to lower your blood pressure. Exercise helps your blood vessels to react more properly. Exercise decreases the risk of developing diabetes. Then the other thing that we have to do is get rid of the cigarettes.
How about living with a stroke? What do families need to know?
Man, I'm so happy you asked that question. I think one of the most important things that people need to know is that after they have a stroke, there is the opportunity to improve. But you can't go home, sit down, and do nothing. You have to go to physical therapy. Families have to make sure that they are there to ensure that their loved one gets physical therapy and does the physical therapy. Physical therapy is the way that we send signals to the brain that says, listen, find a new way around this dead area. Find me a new street, a new path, and it helps to regain function. Without it, you can sit around and you potentially will not regain as much function as you had the potential to do.
Dr. Pruitt, if people want more information, where can they get it?
They can get a lot of information from the Faithe website, and that would be www.faithe.com. At the top of the page, you will see something that says specialties, and under that you click and you'll find something that says stroke. There is a huge amount of very beneficial preventative and therapeutic and post-stroke information there.
Dr. Pruitt, thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity.
It's hard to get to the top when you're looking at it from the bottom. Butt and butt kisses is all I see. Nitwits with nerve to complain about stations in life, pacing in life. Nobody assigned me to where I am. When they called, I came through. When they balled, I stacked something. When they kicked it, I jumped rope, high wire to higher wire, because that's what I do. Their words these days, foreign like my ascent was Babylonian. Battling through demons with words on paper, papyrus and winds whistling past frostbitten ears on bus stops, dreaming of converting a warehouse into my pad. Please don't confuse my swagger with luck or happenstance that's man-made. My path, plotted, God-given like C in algebra. I'm short on patience because I failed my poetic MCATs. Undergrad with a pen, gravitating to my master till I reach my PhD. Post-humanist display of a matchbox with a lit match, combustible cause it's hard to face forward when everyone's staring at what's behind you. Sly comments might get you a role in a Rocky film, but it's no Apollo here, kids. I'm playing for keep. Up the pink slips. I'm nothing like the Berlin. I am never coming down. And I am telling you now, a young Marlon Brando revisited. Hova's most influenced. If you don't see me around, it's because I'm working on my influence. Past the point where people can pull it. My cards are on the table. Ace up. My shoes laced up. I run light. Engineering my re-entry like NASA space science. Don't pace, play, or sit down. Sweating 15 minutes and I'm at it like the whole day. My thoughts, a love supreme, Coltrane, Amtrak with an icebox. Destination, everywhere, thicker than semi-tires. I told y'all and I'm retiring. I am way past tired. I am delirious. And I'm not trying to out-rock you. I'm trying to rock out, fool. I'm not looking at you dudes. I'm looking past you. And believe, there is no spoon, no building a venue, no person to person well-versed in a pressure reply that'll force me to fold this hand. You play your cards. I'll play mine. We'll see how it ends. I'll leave the talking to my footprints. Pete, there's two pair. You go ahead and shoot the breeze. I'm going to dance with the wind. The rhythm? Latin. I'm laughing, beatboxing and scatting at the top of my lungs like deep breaths. If you take a close look, you can see the energy I emit with each step closer to my retirement home in Mayagüez, Puerto Rico. Yeah. So when they call, I'm going to come through. And when they ball, I'm going to stack something. And when they kicking it, I'm going to still jump rope, high wire to higher wire, because that's what I do.
Gallery Night is called an art explosion for the art connoisseur and the beginning admirer. The event is now in its 22nd year, and joining us to discuss the upcoming event is Marquita Edwards. Welcome, Marquita.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here, Faith.
What's the purpose of Gallery Night?
Well, the purpose of Gallery Night is an opportunity for individuals to kind of hop around from art museum to art gallery, to stores, to restaurants, and just take on art, whether it's someone who is not familiar with art and just wants to be out there on that particular day, or someone who is really an art connoisseur and wants to see some new artwork that's appearing on the scene. So it takes place, it's a very social event that a lot of people involve their family, their friends, and they go from place to place and just enjoy the time in the community and spending time talking with the artists and seeing art pieces.
And you're absolutely right. I was at the at Gallery Night this last fall.
Yes.
And, you know, it was exciting to go from gallery to gallery, from event to event, to see different musicians, to see different people, walk through the Third Ward. But there's something different about Gallery Night now. There's the African American component that's really being integrated into the whole event. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, sure. Starting last year, back in January, for the first time, Gallery Night was extended into the African American community at the King Drive Commons Gallery and Studio. One of the initiators of this was Isaiah Rembrandt, who worked with the Harambe Greater Neighborhoods Initiative project, and also he worked with Martin Luther King or MLK Economic Development with LISC for Milwaukee and a few other agencies. I believe it was Northcott Neighborhood House. And what he did, along with the committee, was to negotiate to bring gallery night into the Harambe community.
So make it accessible to the African American community right in our neighborhood.
Yes, exactly. So that we had that option of either venturing over to the Third Ward and to other places, or just staying right in our community. And also giving some of the African American artists an opportunity to exhibit their work as well in the community. And what I really like about it is it was accessible to individuals throughout who weren't previously familiar with gallery night. Mm-hmm. So they would walk by and kind of look in the window to find out what was going on, and there it was, a number of art pieces and artwork right there for them to learn about.
And what's your involvement in gallery night?
Well, I'm part of the committee. I am a coordinator with the King Commons Gallery. I help to coordinate a variety of the different events and activities that we have. And so what we try to offer to the community is a place where we promote art, and we also provide additional cultural events as well, plays and poetry and things of that sort. Performing arts, musicians come in and play, so things of that sort.
And this is the best part, because I know the answer to this, but what's the cost?
Well, actually, it's free for most of the events, if not all. In particular, for gallery night, it's free. And you come in, you meet with the artists, you observe the artwork.
All their work, and
it's wonderful.
Listen to their music, and you can touch and feel, and it's right on. It's a very interactive experience.
Very interactive, and that's how we like it to be. We also have families that come in. We have children that come and participate. We had a retrospective with Ronaldo Hernandez.
Marquita, how can we get more information about the upcoming event?
Well, you can call us at 264-5000.
Thank you for joining us, Marquita.
My pleasure. Thank you.
You want all my love and my devotion. You want my love and soul right on the line. Make it.
From the stage to the screen, and now back to the stage again, Dreamgirls is a cultural phenomenon. The original Broadway production won 6 Tony Awards. The recent film version won 2 Oscars. And the new national road tour is pleasing audiences across the country. The musical, which is the story of 3 young girls from Chicago who rise to superstardom in the music industry, is playing this week at the Marcus Center for the Performing Arts.
Jimmy, you have already gone through every girl on the circuit. Now, I warned you to lay off the women you work with. There are plenty of other women out there.
Well, I'm sure there are, but who's got time to go out looking, Marty? I'm always working.
That's because Marty always keeps you working. She does not know how to.
Milton Craig Neely plays Marty Madison in this production, but he has a rich history with the show.
The Tree Mates! The Tree Mates!
You were in the original cast of Dreamgirls back in 1981, and now here you are again in the year 2010 in Dreamgirls. Talk about that.
I was the swing dancer, which is, I cover, I don't know where that term swing came from, but it means covering the whole male chorus is when I was hired. That's what I was hired to do, to understudy all of the male chorus, and there were 9, I think there were 9 guys. And then by the time I left the production, I was covering also some principals. So I was covering about 14 roles, principals and ensemble included, and it was crazy. In fact, the company was about, I think there were about 33 people. It was a bigger company.
You are so horribly satanic, the way you lead me around.
This touring production started when the musical begins at the Apollo Theater. It's scheduled to tour through June of this year, including a stop in Chicago.
Overall, it's just a great story. You know, it could be set in an office. It could be set, it happens to be about show business, which everybody loves. But it's like a love story. You meet these characters at the beginning of the show, and you fall in love or out of love with them, or you don't fall in love with them. Some of them are not, as nice as we'd like them to be. But you get to know these characters, and you live this whole you go on this whole journey with them. And by the end of the show, you feel like you've gone the whole the span of the show is 7 years. And you feel like you've been with them for the 7 years. And I think as far as black people are concerned, it's really, it's like one of the few shows, I think, even nowadays, especially in 1981, but even nowadays, I mean, it's a very glamorous and beautiful looking show.
While the film version of Dreamgirls made a concerted effort to parallel the Supremes and Motown, the stage version has different aspirations.
The differences between the movie and the theatrical production. The film is it's a good film and it's fun, but a lot of, especially the younger generation, there's a lot of people who've never seen it on stage, and to be there and to experience it live is really, I would suggest people really come out and see the live production of it, because it's just a lot of fun. You're living right there, right with them.
Dreamgirls continues at the Marcus Center through January 10th, 2010.
And that wraps up this edition of Black Nouveau.
Remember, in the coming week, do something to expand your world. Good night.
Good night.